Greetings, folks. Welcome to 4Point Pathways. My name is Eric Stevens. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Engagement with 4Point. And today what we're going to talk about is a challenge that we see in customer organizations in understanding when they're migrating forms. Often what happens is somebody comes to us and they say, I've got some number, okay, working with an organization right now, and they actually have one form. They use it as a physical form right now, okay? They physically print it with some pre-filled information, then they mail it out to the user, okay, to the recipient, who then fills out the rest of the information, and then it comes back in the organization, they scan it and process it. They are quite correctly coming back and going, okay, we want to put this online. All right, great. Now, their perception, like a lot of people, and perhaps your perception, is, well, it's just a form. Shouldn't be that hard. Okay, we made it in Word. It didn't take that long. It actually did, but let's hold that thought for a second. All right, but that's not where the cost lies. That's not where the difficulty lies, because what this organization wants to do is they want to take the data from their systems and pre-fill it. Excellent. So that you're putting in the customer's name and address and other pertinent details, and you're not making the person fill that out. That is a really, really good thing to do. That is personalization. That's respecting your customers or your users. That's a good user experience. You should do that. You should do that even if you're sending out PDFs. But when you put them online, you absolutely should do that. Do not ask me to fill up my address again, right? You're going to lose me. So they're going to do that. And they want to then enter the data and they want to submit it back. They may not produce a PDF document at all. They don't need the signature because they've got an online record. They're going to sign into a portal. They know when the person changed that data. So all of that is in there. It's not a problem. So they've got a record, so they can then do the data prefill and the data submission. Okay, but they don't have the APIs. Someone is going to have to build APIs and the data, manipulate the data in the appropriate way so that the form can consume that, so that it can grab it, populate all of the fields, so that all the data can go and we can feed that back in. Adobe Experience Manager and other forms technologies, but we'll talk about AEM. AEM has the capabilities to interact with these APIs. They're very straightforward, but they need clean APIs. And what we find is that 2/3 to 3/4 of the cost of a project is around data. Even when somebody has good APIs, talk to another organization. They say, we've got the APIs, they got all the data. We say, great. We need to review the data that you're going to give us. Oh, no, it's in JSON, it's all standard. Excellent. We need to review that data. We got the data, but it wasn't standardized. It wasn't fulfilling a schema that we could use effectively. Changes had to be made, modifications, or what was going to happen was we're going to have to put a lot of extra work in the form to compensate for the data. Now, this is not an unusual problem when you start dealing with web applications or any application, mobile applications, data processing applications, any kind of manipulation. Is the data has to be good, the data has to be clean, and the data has to be structured the way that the application is expecting it. Let me give you some concrete examples of what we see. All right. In the case of that organization that had APIs, that were already using the APIs, all right, the JSON data that they were giving us had date fields, but the dates were strings, pre-formatted strings. You say, well, that's not so bad. That's horrible. Don't do that. Why is that horrible? Because now when I go to put it in and I need to internationalize that and I need to show it in different countries, I have to now do string manipulation inside the form. I have to build a custom component that rearranges the string, because in the US, all right, they want month, day, year. Other countries want day, month, year. All right. Other countries want year, month, day. Okay. That last one is really the only valid one. What we want in the schema is a date time structure. that has everything already embedded in it and according to the standard, the industry standards on this, the ISO standards, right? That's how we want it, because then the form can automatically transform it, automatically adjust it, and we don't have to do any extra special work. Things like language codes, use the international language codes. If we use the international language codes in the data that we're receiving, then AEM naturally changes the language for us. If we don't, then we have to build a layer between it that transforms your special 03 equals English and 13 equals Spanish. We have to transform those so that we're getting ES out of it, okay? So that now we can present the data in the appropriate language. That's the kind of thing that makes it really, really difficult. And that's where we spend a tremendous amount of effort, is architecting the data experience, architecting the interfaces, working on what the schema has to look like. What is the data that goes in there? Simple things like how data is structured in terms of rows and columns when we have to display information. Sometimes they come out of mainframe systems or other applications in ways that aren't easy to transform into a form, a structured document presentation, whether it's an output form or an online form, either one. And the reverse is true. Now I've got a set of data on an online form and I want to push it back in. The organization has to receive the data in a mutually agreed upon structure so that everybody can do the right things with it. So we want the way that we get it into the form, we want it the same way we want to push it out of the form, because now that reduces the effort inside of the actual form. There's lots of different ways of solving this problem, whether it's the organization improves the APIs, or maybe they're third-party APIs and we can't improve the APIs. Had one organization that wanted to read out of an Oracle AR database, okay? But the Oracle AR, in order to get the information that we needed for the documents and for the online presentation, required us to make around 15 to 40 different calls. For example, I would get an order record, it would have a customer number, I'd have to go get the customer number called to get the address, then I'd have to call for the codes, for country codes, etc. Then it was, oh, there's the bill to, I have to go get that one. So we've got a lot of different calls to assemble all the information that we need to present on a statement or an order or an invoice, all right? So when we can't do that, what we did was we built a middleware layer, an interface, a service layer between it that said, I need this. And it went, gathered all of that, because it also turned out it wasn't just the Oracle system. It was also like 7 other systems. They had to pull information on serial numbers for products, shipping information, all of that. So there was a creation of an environment that assembled all of that data and then fed it. That substantially reduced the amount of work that we had to do on the forms. They also then did proper internationalization so that we could display it for 65 different countries in 25 different languages, right? But the key to that is getting the data right, right? And when we didn't get the data right, if we made a mistake in the data, then everything cascade broke, all right? So getting the data right is the hard part. But when you get the data right, now the forms become easier. And this is the challenge when we're talking to organizations. This is something that I want to make you aware of, is that when you look at it and you go, well, it's just a form. It's not. It's actually a representation of the data that you have. And if the data you have isn't good, isn't structured, isn't easy to access, then most of the effort to convert from an online, empty, or physical document into a usable, presentable, online, mobile-ready data capture environment or data presentation environment is around manipulating the data and manipulating the integration and the interfaces. It's not around actually building the layout. The layout is very, very straightforward if you've got good data. And a lot of the times where we get caught up is making the online presentation or even the output presentation is the data is not good. So we're compensating for bad data. Those dates that I talked about, oh, I've got to build a special component because I got to rearrange the dates so that it shows up the proper way. Or worse, somebody comes along with a string that's a date and it's day, month, year. All right. And then they say, oh, can you sort the line items by the date? And it's, well, yeah, but that's a ton of work. All right. If you organize the data better, then it just naturally flows out of that. So getting the data right for any application, but for forms in specific, is the critical part of it. And it's where we spend the most amount of time. All right. It's where we spend the most amount of design time, architecture time, integration time. It's not the forms. And this is important for your executive to understand because they're going to come back. We hear it all the time is they go, well, we need to convert these 4,000 forms online. Why is it so expensive? Right? I was thinking it was going to be a couple of $1,000s a form. Well, okay, depending on your complexity, maybe that's even too low just for the design, but it's because your data is horrible or your interactions, your integrations, your APIs are horrible. And so we're having to fix all of those. That's where we're spending all of the time. So you need to think about that split and how to do that. And if you're making changes on your system right now for other applications, maybe improving the API, maybe coming back and doing a session with us where we can sit down and go, you know, if you did it this way, it's going to make doing that online form way easier. Okay, that's going to save you money there. You got to do it anyway. But if you did it this way, then all of this suddenly cascades out a lot easier. That is a critical thing that we want you to think about. If you want to talk more about challenges in digital transformation, in moving your forms online, in data architectures and data integrations, and how we can help associated with that, please reach out. I'd love to chat with you about that. Thanks and take care.